Reaching the age of 70 isn't a finish line. It's the grand opening of a brand new adventure. However, let's be real. Certain things that seemed significant in your younger years might not resonate with the life you're living now. Today, I want to chat about a dozen notions that just don't quite fit for women like us, post-70. And stay tuned, because the last one could completely shift your perspective on yourself. Let's get one thing straight. Beauty isn't a numerical value on a scale, a particular lipstick color, or the flawless texture of your skin. We've been conditioned for years to believe that beauty is synonymous with youth. Think of all the never-ending lotions, procedures, and hair dyes. Have you ever noticed how the beauty industry constantly pushes the idea that we need to fix something about ourselves? The truth is, at 70, beauty isn't about striving to look younger. It's about radiating vitality. Do you know what true radiance looks like at this stage? It's the unmistakable sparkle in your eyes when you connect with your grandchildren, or the pure delight in your smile when you laugh at a joke you've heard countless times. Those laugh lines are like a roadmap of a life richly experienced. And let's address the practicality of it all. Why should we pour money into expensive treatments that promise to shave off years, when we could be channeling those resources into enriching hobbies and experiences that genuinely spark joy? From this moment onward, beauty isn't something you chase. It's an intrinsic quality you possess. So, liberate yourself from the chase. You've earned the right to show up as your authentic self without apology. I've observed that as we accumulate years, the more possessions we acquire, the more burdened we become. Every drawer, every closet, overflowing with things we no longer use. It's not just the physical clutter, it's the mental baggage as well. Think about it. Why do we cling to items that no longer serve us? For years, I hoarded old clothes, convinced I'd squeeze into them again. Gifts I never used, paralyzed by guilt at the thought of giving them away. Even stacks of outdated magazines. And guess what all that junk was doing? It was holding me captive. Now is the moment to redefine our perspective. Instead of viewing decluttering as simply getting rid of things, see it as creating space, room for physical movement in your home, room for meaningful experiences, and room for tranquility in your mind. Begin with a single room, or even just one drawer. Scrutinize your belongings and ask yourself, does this still bring me happiness or fulfill a purpose? If the answer is no, thank it for its service and release it. You'll be astonished at how much lighter you feel when your environment mirrors simplicity and serenity. How often have we jumped headfirst into disagreements that weren't even ours to begin with? Perhaps it was to shield someone, to defend our children, or to maintain harmony within the family. While that might have been fitting in our younger days when we played the role of peacemaker, after 70, it's time to let some battles play out on their own. Imagine this. There's a dispute brewing between your grown children over something inconsequential, like who will host the upcoming holiday celebration. Your immediate reaction might be to intervene and mediate, but at what cost? Frequently, these minor squabbles deplete your emotional reserves and position you directly in the line of fire. I learned this lesson the hard way. Attempts to help often left both sides feeling resentful toward me. The same applies to long-standing conflicts with friends or neighbors. How much of your valuable energy have you squandered harboring resentment or engaging in confrontations that in the grand scheme of things are insignificant? Instead of attempting to resolve every conflict, consider this. Not every issue is yours to resolve, and sometimes the wisest course of action is to step back and allow others to navigate their own path. You've earned the privilege to prioritize your own joy and well-being. I've noticed a common thread among women like ourselves. We're natural nurturers. We instinctively feel obligated to be present, to make others feel cherished, and to nurture our relationships. But after 70, we must ask ourselves, at what cost to ourselves? Upon reaching my 7th decade, my calendar was more jam-packed than ever. Grandchildren's birthday celebrations, community gatherings, holiday, parties, and even hosting friends for afternoon tea. I labored under the misconception that being busy equated to being vibrant and engaged, but instead, I frequently found myself drained and overwhelmed. There were weeks when I barely had time to take a breath between commitments. What I failed to recognize was that constantly accepting invitations from others meant consistently declining invitations to myself. As time went on, I began to harbor resentment towards some of the very activities I had willingly agreed to. The turning point occurred when I missed a peaceful Sunday morning, a time I traditionally dedicated to journaling, enjoying tea, and reflecting, because I had committed myself to a fundraising event that I didn't even enjoy. That's when it dawned on me. My time is no longer limitless, and not every request deserves a spot on my schedule. Nowadays, I pose 2 questions to myself before committing to anything. Will this genuinely bring me joy? And do I have the emotional bandwidth for it? If the answer is no, I politely decline. And guess what? Most people understand. They've been there too. Now, my calendar reflects joy, not obligation, and I find myself savoring life instead of rushing through it. Perfection. Oh, how it has dogged our footsteps throughout our lives. From our younger years, when we were taught to maintain spotless homes and prepare flawless meals, to the years spent obsessing over our appearance, worrying about others' opinions, and questioning whether we were enough. But let's be candid for a moment. Whom does perfection really serve? I recall one Thanksgiving in particular, years ago. I was hosting, and every detail had to be impeccable. I devoted days to scrubbing every corner of the house, ironing tablecloths, and attempting a complicated new recipe I had spotted in a magazine. By the time the big day arrived, I was utterly exhausted. And for what? No one noticed the miniature centerpiece I had spent hours assembling, or the fact that the dessert plates coordinated perfectly with the napkins. However, something did stand out: my absence. I was so preoccupied with perfecting everything that I missed the laughter around the table, the delight in my grandchildren's eyes, and the stories being exchanged. That day imparted a valuable lesson. Perfection comes at a steep price, and it's rarely worth paying. Now, I wholeheartedly embrace imperfection. If my cake sinks slightly in the middle, it still tastes equally delicious. If my living room has a touch of dust when guests arrive, it doesn't prevent us from enjoying stimulating conversation. What people value most isn't your flawless hosting or impeccable appearance. It's your presence, your warmth, and your authenticity. So, let's release our grip on perfection, shall we? We've earned the right to be unapologetically real. I'll readily admit it. Tending to our health can feel like a full-time commitment. The doctor's appointments, the dietary adjustments, the exercise regimens, it can all seem daunting. However, if there's one profound lesson I've internalized, it's this: nothing is more disruptive than the loss of your health. I experienced a wake-up call some years ago. It began subtly, a twinge in my shoulder here, a niggle of knee pain there. I dismissed it, thinking, oh, it's simply the aging process. It's normal. But those minor issues escalated into significant problems because I neglected them. One day, I discovered that I was unable to ascend the stairs without wincing. A visit to the physician revealed that early intervention could have saved me years of discomfort. It's not solely about injuries or chronic pain either. It's about the cumulative effect of small, everyday habits. For years, I habitually reached for pre-packaged meals because I lacked the motivation to cook. They were quick, convenient, and effortless. However, when I began to feel lethargic and noticed my energy plummeting, I scrutinized my diet more closely. It turned out that all that convenience was costing me more than just time. It was draining my vitality. Now I prioritize my health. I prepare simple, nutritious meals on Sundays so that I'm not tempted by quick fixes during the week. I make it a point to stretch every morning, even if it's just for 10 minutes. And yes, I adhere to doctor's appointments, even for the minor concerns. These small, consistent adjustments have granted me greater energy and mobility than I possessed at the age of 60. Let me assure you, there is nothing more empowering than feeling in control of your own body, even as the years accumulate. I wish someone had imparted this wisdom to me earlier in life. Not every relationship is destined to endure indefinitely. For decades, we're conditioned to believe that we should tolerate toxic friendships, unbalanced family dynamics, or one-sided partnerships, simply because we've invested time, or because it's the right thing to do. However, beyond the age of 70, sustaining unhealthy relationships is counterproductive. I had a friend, we'll call her Linda. We had known each other for over 30 years, but Linda possessed a talent for negativity. Whenever we convened, she would spend hours lamenting her circumstances, belittling others, or finding fault with everything around her. I'd depart from our conversations, feeling emotionally depleted. Nevertheless, I maintained the friendship out of guilt over the thought of ending it. One day, I experienced an epiphany. Time is no longer a resource I can take for granted. Every moment is precious. Why was I dedicating mine to someone who diminished my happiness and fulfillment? I made the difficult decision to distance myself from that friendship. Was it challenging? Absolutely. Did I experience relief afterward? Without a doubt. Now, I channel my energy into relationships with people who uplift me, those who radiate joy, extend kindness, and leave me feeling revitalized rather than drained. Life is far too precious to squander on negativity. Remember this: walking away isn't selfish. It's an act of self-care. There's a pervasive myth that after the age of 70, our lives are immutably fixed, that there's no room for new pursuits or adventures. However, allow me to assure you that couldn't be further from the truth. In reality, this stage of life is the perfect opportunity to explore avenues we never had the chance to before. When I was raising my children and working, my life revolved around schedules and responsibilities. There was precious little time left for hobbies. However, after turning 70, I resolved to shake things up. I enrolled in a painting class, not because I expected to excel at it, but because it sounded enjoyable. And guess what? I wasn't initially proficient, but it didn't matter. For the first time in years, I felt like a novice again, and there was something incredibly liberating about that experience. Since then, I've taken up gardening, established a daily journaling practice, and even joined a local choir. Each new interest injects a sense of excitement and purpose into my life. You're never too old to acquire new skills or rediscover forgotten passions. Don't allow anyone to dissuade you. You deserve to fill your days with activities that ignite your curiosity and spark joy in your soul. I'll confess, I used to feel intimidated by technology. Smartphones, tablets, smart TVs, they all felt overwhelming. I would tell myself, oh, it's not for me, or I don't need to know how to use all that. However, here's the thing. Avoiding technology in today's world simply doesn't make sense, especially after the age of 70. My granddaughter was the catalyst for changing my perspective. She demonstrated how to use a tablet, and suddenly an entirely new world opened up to me. I learned how to video call my family, explore recipes online, and even participate in online classes. I discovered communities of people my age, sharing stories, advice, and experiences. And let me tell you, watching videos on gardening tips and even learning some basic Spanish has been a blast. Technology isn't something to fear. It's a tool to enrich our lives. It keeps us connected, informed, and engaged with the world around us. So, if you're hesitant about learning, remember this: you don't have to master everything at once. Begin modestly. Seek assistance from a tech-savvy friend or family member. The world is progressing, and staying connected to it can bring incredible joy and opportunity, regardless of your age. There arrives a juncture in life when you come to the realization that regardless of your actions, someone will have an opinion about them. And guess what? That's perfectly acceptable. However, expending your valuable time and energy dwelling on those opinions, that's senseless after the age of 70. When I was younger, I'd fret over everything: what to wear to the neighbor's barbecue, whether my gift for a friend was adequate, or if my choices for my own life were being scrutinized by others. As women, we're conditioned to seek approval from everyone: our families, our communities, even strangers. But let me share a liberating truth. None of it truly matters in the grand scheme of things. I recall one instance when I was apprehensive about wearing a vibrant floral dress to a formal event because it felt too much. My daughter said, "Mum, who cares? If it makes you happy, wear it." And guess what? I did. I received a plethora of compliments that day, but more importantly, I felt confident and comfortable in my own skin. So, here's my advice. Live your life for yourself. Dance freely, even if people are watching. Speak your truth, even if it's unpopular. Wear what makes you feel fabulous, regardless of others' opinions. By the age of 70, you've earned the right to prioritize your own happiness over someone else's judgment. Money is a delicate subject at any age, but after 70, neglecting financial planning is one of the most detrimental mistakes we can make. Whether you possess substantial wealth or modest savings, understanding your financial landscape and having a strategic plan alleviates stress and simplifies life considerably. I've witnessed friends encounter difficulties because they avoided addressing their finances, assuming everything would inevitably work out. However, the reality is that life is unpredictable. Medical emergencies, housing requirements, or even assisting a family member can strain a budget if you're unprepared. I've also observed others living so frugally out of fear that they never fully enjoyed the money they had diligently saved. For me, the most prudent decision I made was to consult with a financial advisor. We discussed everything: my expenses, my savings, and even my intentions for what I wanted to leave for my family. It wasn't as intimidating as I had anticipated, and I now have peace of mind, knowing that I can enjoy life without constantly worrying about financial depletion. Whether it involves budgeting, planning for long-term care, or simply indulging in occasional treats, having a clear understanding of your financial well-being is empowering, and it's never too late to initiate the process. Here's a fundamental truth about aging. It's not something to dread, it's something to embrace. Every wrinkle, every grey hair, every passing year is a testament to a life lived, loved, and experienced. Yet countless women allow the fear of aging to impede their progress. I am intimately familiar with this fear. For years, I obsessed over looking older. I experimented with creams, concealed my age, and shied away from discussions about the number of candles adorning my birthday cake. But then one day, I gazed into the mirror and pondered, what am I so afraid of? I realized that every line on my face narrates a story of laughter, tears, lessons learned and love shared. Now, instead of fixating on what aging diminishes, I celebrate what it bestows, wisdom, perspective, and a profound appreciation for the simple joys. I don't concern myself with being the oldest person in the room. I concentrate on being the most engaged, fully present in every moment. Aging isn't about relinquishing who you once were. It's about evolving into the person you were always meant to become. So, let's cease allowing fear to dictate how we live, and instead embrace this chapter with open arms, curiosity, and an audacious sense of adventure. Thank you for investing your time with me today. If you found these 12 suggestions beneficial, or if any of them resonated with you personally, I'd be delighted to hear your reflections in the comments below. Your feedback is invaluable to me. Please remember to give this video a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, click that subscribe button so that you never miss another conversation like this. And one final note, I would be thrilled if you would consider joining my Savvy Senior newsletter, where I share even more specialized tips, stories, and guidance tailored specifically for women like us. You'll find the link in the description below. Click it, sign up, and let's continue to stay connected. Take care, and remember, life after 70 is an opportunity to flourish, not merely survive. Until we meet again, farewell for now.